Good morning and welcome to the second Big Forex Breakfast. My name is Lily, I represent QUBE Events, and I'm joined by Marta, our producer of the event, and Charlotte from ContentWorks Agencies, who is co-hosting this event for the second time again. We are so excited about today's agenda. It's an action-packed agenda with some incredible speakers, which leads me to my huge thank you to the speakers for their time in preparation towards this event, as well as their time they're dedicating to today. So thank you so much for that. We really do appreciate that. I'd also like to thank very much our sponsor, iSpiral. iSpiral are leading the way in KYC, AML, and onboarding solutions. We're so excited that they have sponsored this event for the second time. We have an amazing agenda, which includes a presentation from iSpiral, so please look out for that. I'd also like to thank very much ContentWorks Agencies for co-hosting and supporting us throughout this process of putting together this event, and to Marta, the producer of QUBE, who has done an incredible job of getting the event together. Thank you, Marta. Thank you to the whole QUBE team. And I'm going to hand over to Charlotte. I do want to say one quick note, and that is really about your evaluation. We do have a survey that goes out right after the event. There's a recording that goes right to your email right after the event. The evaluation is more also about getting your feedback about future topics, about future speakers that you'd like to hear us invite to this platform. We said we don't see much in terms of a light at the end of the tunnel with regards to actual conferences in the next few months. So let's take the time to really engage, share experiences, ask questions, and put forward your comments about future events. So we're really thankful about that. We're ready to start. Charlotte, thank you. Martin, thank you. Thank you to everybody for being here today. And we look forward to a great event.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Lily. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Big Forex Breakfast 2. We're so excited. I woke up this morning like it's Christmas, you know, networking with all the awesome people, listening to all these great speakers. Thank you so much to everyone for joining us. Also, thanks to all our great speakers, of course, for being with us today. Now, ContentWorks Agency and QUBE, for those of you who don't know, have been working together a lot this year, especially throughout all of these sort of like regional and global lockdowns, predominantly because we're very much at the center of the Forex sector, ourselves providing the content and the social media for Forex and finance, and QUBE for organizing events. And we really felt that it was a shame to not be networking together, to be meeting, to be facilitating really good discussions. There's so much education that's happening. There's still regulation updates. There's still volatility in the markets. There's so much happening, but no events to actually meet and talk about all of this. So we've been running a lot of these events. This is the second Big Forex Breakfast 2. We're so excited about that. And we really want to encourage you guys to be interactive with this. So please use hashtag Big Forex Breakfast on Twitter, Instagram. Make sure that you tag us. Ask your questions along the right-hand side throughout the panels. We're going to make sure that we try to get to those where we can. And also, we're going to be running polls. You can see on the right-hand side, there's a little polls tab. Some polls up there, so give us your opinion, give us your feedback. And again, thanks so much, everyone. We hope you have an amazing day. We hope you've all got a good coffee. I think I've had 3. It's probably obvious. And so without further ado, I also want to thank our amazing chairman today. That's Brad Alexander. Brad's joining us from FX Large Limited, and he's going to be chairing the event. So I'm going to hand over now to Brad to kick the day off. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Charlie. It's great to be here. Nice to get together with everyone as we now have the new normal of getting together. I see Lily has some banners on her wall now. I don't know if you can see behind me. Maybe you can. I've got some Indonesian and African masks hanging there, and those are there simply to ward off binary options, and they're working. They really do work. So if that's any help to anyone, I don't have a big bookcase with a book to sell on it, so we're getting ready. We're getting used to our new normal of working from home. But anyway, it's great to be able to join you guys for the second bite at the Big Forex Breakfast. I really enjoyed the first one. Anyway, many of you know me, but for those who don't, it's time for the shameless plug. My name is Brad Alexander, and I run a little venture called FX Large Limited, and we spend our days making videos for the FX and CFD world. You notice I didn't say content there. I'll say videos because I don't want to. We're not competing with Charlie and Nikki. We don't have the energy. It's as simple as that. We do specifically videos and so forth. To give you an example, I did a webinar last night on the upcoming U.S. elections for a broker, and we're currently working on marketing videos for a platform provider who will be launching a new version in a couple of weeks. And after that, hopefully creating 30 tutorial videos on how to make it all go. I also take on students who want to learn to trade either personally or on behalf of brokers or other educators or private companies. And I've noticed something different in the last few months. These students usually contact me through WhatsApp or Skype or emails, asking lots of questions as they do in the evenings or early mornings. But now I'm getting requests about 24 hours a day. Well, why is that? It's obvious. They're like the rest of us. They're all working from home. And they're spending a lot of time on social media and LinkedIn, which, again, using the phrase, we're getting tired of hearing, the new normal. So when Marta contacted me a while ago on LinkedIn to ask me if I wanted to help with the big breakfast, I had two thoughts. Firstly, I was flattered because I knew the lineup, and you're all good other clients or friends or colleagues, quite flattered to be part of this. And secondly, I thought, well, wait a minute, what are you trying to sell me? Well, it turns out nothing. Thanks for that, because we're all getting bombarded again by everybody and their brother working on social media trying to sell us something. And it's refreshing to have this venue to be able to get together with our mates and colleagues and friends and clients, and just have, as you say, fireside chats and see what's going on in the world. And in the case of this, help a lot of people with their marketing and sales. So, for example, on LinkedIn a while ago, a copywriter posted something and she said, "Tell me, please, what phrase are you getting tired of hearing?" And I put on, "I'm getting tired of hearing the phrase challenging times." We know we're in challenging times. We hear this everywhere. We already know where we are because we are living now in a virtual world. And as sales and marketing people, we all know the best form of interaction is face-to-face. I mean, I'm normally working in London, and if somebody wants to get together, I can pop on a train and be in the city literally in minutes. And it's wonderful to get together in the city and chat with a client or a friend over a beer or a coffee. And I simply miss that. I mean, I'm actually now living in southern Spain, ironically, thanks to coronavirus, good, bad, or indifferent, which has another set of problems, but it's all good fun. And I also miss, and I hope you guys miss too, getting together once a year in Limassol. Though you can say what you want about Cyprus and Limassol, but basically we all know can be the center of the universe for us. And I really miss getting together with all you guys at the Columbia Beach Club and all the different events that IFX put on. But I also miss, there's a restaurant in Limassol called Drifters, and if somebody wants to pass by there and get one of those big monstrous hamburgers and post it to me, I'll be very grateful. Hopefully, I'm kidding about that. So as we all can't get together, we are getting used to our new normal, and necessity being the mother of invention. I really need to thank, and we all need to thank QUBE and ContentWorks, Charlie and Nikki and Marta and Lily for putting all this together. It's quite awesome, and hopefully I'll be back to help out again. So what are our new challenging times? Well, the challenging times we have now are basically working from home. I mean, as I said, I'm living now in southern Spain. My big anxiety was broadband. Well, thank you. I've got that now. So we were able to talk. 5 years ago, you couldn't even make a Skype call between London and Limassol because the broadband was bad on either side. And another challenging time that we're facing now, working from home, is being left alone. I mean, I had the other day, I had to interrupt a Skype call, WhatsApp call with a client because my cat walked across the desk. So challenging time, okay. Maybe having a cat walking across your desk is not that challenging, but it needs to be dealt with, and we need to modify our behavior. Right, I've got a few seconds left. So I'm going to ask one quick question of the panels and the fireside chats, and that's about crypto. The FCA has recently banned crypto for UK traders for various reasons. I have students asking me, how do I do fundamentals on crypto? Well, you don't. And the FCA agreed with me. I'm a hypocrite. I'll talk about crypto if my broker wants me to. but I'd like to know if SciSec is going to do the same thing. So on that note, I'm going to pass back and have fun. We're all going to enjoy the conference, and I'll speak to you soon. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Thank you very much, Brad, for that introduction to the overall webinar. Good morning, Paul. Good morning, everybody. This is Paul Van Sint-Fiet. I think I've pronounced that right.
Almost, doesn't matter.
Oh.
Most people don't. Most people call him Paul, so it's fine.
Paul is Head of Cross-Currency Solution Sales, APAC, for JPMorgan Chase Co, with over 14 years of experience in providing solutions to leading global enterprise and financial solutions. He's currently responsible for structuring complex, integrated foreign exchange risk management solutions, FX payables, receivables, and liquidity. But the reason we're here to speak with you this morning, Paul, is to get some insights into sales. And I think regardless of whether you're working for a B2C kind of Forex broker or whether you're working for a large institutional brand like JPMorgan, I think the fundamentals are all still the same. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I agree. The fundamentals stay the same, but I think it also depends on where you're based. So good afternoon for everyone. I'm based in Singapore, so for me it's already 4 p.m. So I can start drinking after this. If you look at it, I would say from a European perspective or a US perspective, people were already quite used to working from home. I literally had my teams asking, can I go to the office while COVID was going on? And we had to get exceptional approval from the government because people are so used to going into the office. As well also, I mean, as you've perhaps seen all in the news and the BBC, China is back to normal. Well, their new normal is back in the office and meeting each other and doing business trips and seeing each other in person while the rest of the world is still hibernating at home. So it's an interesting thing to really see how clients are interacting, how clients have moved from face-to-face meetings into virtual, but there's still clients who would say, that's all great. Can we have a coffee separate? Because I like to have the interaction. And I think it even becomes more visible that a lot of our solutions are perhaps the same. Doesn't matter if you speak to JPMorgan, let's say one of the other big firms like Citibank, etc. You'll have to differentiate yourselves in different ways than just personal contact, which is, I think, in Europe when I was there, in the US, it was already it comes into building relationship a long distance, which is completely different than when I look at my team in APAC, where it's very much a face-to-face kind of business. People have to trust you. If you don't come into face-to-face, it's different. And also from a cultural perspective, it just becomes, especially if you go to China, they all want me to go out for drinks with them because that's how they trust people instead of, you just have a nice dinner or lunch and, you do business with each other. So I think it comes into play from the new normal. We'll see how the new normal works out. Luckily in Singapore, we're going back in the office. Well, today I'm working from home, but normally we can go back into the office where you still see some clients are very much like, I want to do everything electronic. It was quite interesting, I think, when it started. I mean, we looked into it, I think in March, April, because everyone was talking, everyone wants to go digital. And there were a lot of clients, I would say it's almost 50-50. We did a poll itself in JPMorgan, our clients. Around 50% went back to phone, to voice, compared to digital. The other 50% went to digital. So it's a very interesting way that some people just went back. Okay, I'm used to the phone. It works. Maybe it's also because of broadband issues. So I'm going to do all of my trades now via the phone. I'm not going to use a platform. Well, some other ones like, you know what? I'm not going to have, phone is going to be difficult. Everything goes digital. And we got one side of the clients moving to digital, other clients moving back from digital.
Are you seeing that being due to any kind of age demographic?
It's interesting to see. I think it's age demographic as well as country. So take into account, like in India, infrastructure is, internet infrastructure is not great. So a mobile phone can be used everywhere. Internet is not everywhere. And especially, let's be honest, our solutions need quite some broadband. So, you want to do a trade, it becomes a little bit more difficult. In Singapore, people are much more, everything is like people walk around with an iPad and could even start doing deals, etc.
So I guess the challenge has been having to be very, very flexible during these times. I mean, I think what the lockdowns during this pandemic has done has really either, you've had people that have gone little bit off the wall, or you've had people really kind of like really focus and concentrate down on the essentials. And I guess in your line of business where it's essentially sales and you're networking with a lot of people, you've had to be very we always say be targeted, go to where your audience are, but now you're really having to do that.
Yeah, and I think you really have to understand your client and how they like to communicate with you. Where previously, it's all chats, or you could do on a business trip. I remember when Hong Kong, the riot started, and I went to Hong Kong, and one client was very appreciated that I went to Hong Kong in the case, because all his other partners didn't want to come Hong Kong because it was dangerous. And I'm like, to be honest, they're not going to attack me. I'm not Chinese, so it's very it's quite clear cut. So that helps, but these things you can't do anymore because even business trips are restricted even for us. So I think you really have to find a way, and also showcase, from some clients what we have done, and it's very much starting to look in how can I integrate our solutions directly into their business, which also means, they can't start competing between different customers, do phones, etc., but really integrate fully 24/7 rates into their business lines. And especially, we were doing it before already for, like, for instance, airlines, but we moved very much further to, like, your e-wallets, to your your remittance companies, etc., where everything is now API based. It's 24/7, and I think the last time I spoke to them is like 6 months ago, because it's just pure, as long as their clients utilize it and everything goes well, you don't hear them. And especially on the e-commerce side, where we do quite a lot of business, we'll see even more clients going through it and say, you know what, we agree to certain pricing, and you just stream it, and then everything, the rest is, as long as everything goes well.
I think that really touches on a point that you mentioned very briefly. But just before we get to that, I just want to bring everybody's attention on the right-hand side of your screen. You've got the questions. So if you want to pop any questions that you have there, and we'll have a look at them at the end of the chat. But Paul, you were just something that you touched on before about differentiation. And, I think that's a real issue for a lot of brokers, actually. The offering, especially when you have platforms like MT4, MT5, everybody has those. Everybody's offering multi-assets. Everyone talks about good customer service. How do you differentiate in the market? How do you, with JPMorgan? Because your offering is also very similar to your competitors.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I think, it always, something comes into brand. I think it also matching, what I try to do, especially with my teams, is matching culture, matching personality to specific clients. Because at the end of the day, if someone likes you, they give you business, even while the platform is. Second thing is also, try to go the extra mile, especially in these kind of cases. Try to do, and even if it not always succeeds, showcasing that you're trying your best you can, and everyone knows it's difficult. A lot of, I think, clients appreciate it. And, at the end,
how do you go the extra mile online?
Yeah, simple things. I mean, the thing is like, to be honest, even while everything is online, you can still call back a client and say, everything we did is this, go through it and give them feedback even over the phone. I mean, at the end of the day, people like the personal contract still. It's not just they have to come to you. You can also go to them, or even go online to them and, share more information about the market. Where is the market itself? Where are the opportunities for them? Or even just, go through it and review with them their current business lines and how can they improve their current process. Because let's be honest, everyone is looking at cost cutting at the moment. So one of the things we're doing, well, it's maybe from a short-term perspective impacts us, but say, okay, how can you do things better? Because at the long term, we know from a relationship standpoint, more of the walls will be assigned to us. Because it's, that's how people work. It's not always comes to the nickel and dime. Well, some clients are like that, but most of them appreciate also the extra services you offer.
And that's really the contradiction during these times, is that while we're kind of further apart from each other in terms of physically, we are having to become more targeted and give extra service to individuals and a more tailored service. And that is a real contradiction for now, I think. And I guess the companies that are really jumping on board with the whole ability to service their clients online and speak to them and have a kind of, develop a personal relationship. I think that they will be the ones that stand out for success. And touching again on something else that you mentioned, and you work in the Asia Pacific region, so it's quite different to say the European, UK, or even Americans, where you have people that culturally do things very differently in the way that they network. So what are the unique challenges that you've really had to face?
I think for us, yeah, I think for APAC, a lot of people like to do business face-to-face. There's no trust factor. I worked in Europe, I worked in the US, and then I moved to APAC. It's interesting to see. I'm originally from the Netherlands, and I had relationship with people who I perhaps met once a year, and it was a strong relationship via the phone or via chats, etc. People would trust, and it's very much like a business relationship. When you go to the APAC region, again, I'm generalizing more. Depending per country, different things would happen. So I'll give you an example. We utilize quite strongly also different characters, also different nationalities within the firm. So, being a person from Europe, we can be much more aggressive because we get forgiveness on not understanding the culture. So when I go to Japan, I can ask my clients different questions than my team can do in Japan, because there's a certain hierarchy. People come in, they have to follow it. They can't ask certain questions directly. Well, I can just go and say, what do I need to do to get the business? Well, right. They would never, a Japanese person would never ask that, because that's just way too direct. So it's these kind of things. It's always good to understand a little bit the client's culture, like the business culture, but also the individual culture, and also how to massage the message itself.
Massage, I think that's the word, because it's obviously a fine line of, okay, I'm a foreigner, I come with a different culture, I can be more direct, but there's still a line that obviously you're not.
Yeah, you have to always watch out, because it can also go the other way around. I think the fine line you will learn over time, unfortunately. Right. But every culture, and to be honest, even in Europe, every culture is a little bit different. Being Dutch, we're very direct. You go to the UK, it's a little bit different. But I think it's good to understand where clients come from, and also to understand what they liked and what is their main objective. So one of the other things we sometimes come in is, like, if you look at the e-commerce or the fintechs we work with, they like speed, they like decisions, they don't want to wait for decisions. So you have to have much more speed internally in organizations to make decisions, to do business with them. While you have a big corporation, they mostly want to see data first, they want to analyze it. You have to give them the data accordingly before they start making different decisions. So I think also there you have to adjust your internal processes.
Yeah, we mentioned that a lot also in the Forex industry. When you're preparing things for Chinese or for German clients, they're readers, they like to read.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of the Western clients really like, their information bite-sized and done. Okay, we're kind of coming down to our last 2 minutes, and we've got a question. So let's go to that. It's by Soren. Hi, Paul. How do you find selling FX as an alpha product asset class compared to other markets?
Good question. I think if you look at from an AVAX standpoint, and it really depends a little bit on which are we talking about pure spots. At the end of the day, it becomes very much price, and it comes in. We're talking to derivatives, we're talking at algo. It becomes very much a consultancy approach, and it becomes from that a longer term relationship standpoint, and also much more consultancy and time added to it. But of course, from that perspective, there's also much more margin. I think from a spot standpoint, it always becomes very difficult, because there's a thin line between clients going into multi-bank traders, multi-bank platforms, to utilizing, for instance, our own internal platforms we have. As a big firm, we can sometimes put some weight against it and say, push clients to utilize our own platform, and then have that extra issue that they call multiple providers. But I think overall, I think there becomes the spot is just pure price at the end generated. One of the things we look very much into is not just the AVAX transaction, but also the settlement into it. So making it real time. We're looking, for instance, and I think it was mentioned also about blockchain. We're looking, for instance, to see how we can do our settlements, so not the AVAX itself, but the settlements on the blockchain. So to make it real time, 24/7, etc. Because doing the conversion is all fine. It's the settlement which most clients, get killed on.
All right. Excellent. Okay, well, I think our time is up. Just a reminder to everybody, you've got the question section on the right, and if you think of a question for Paul after this, you can still pop a question on there, and he might be able to actually answer you if you keep an eye on that on the questions tab, Paul. And we've also got the polls, so keep that in mind and go submit your votes for that. Right, thanks very much, Paul.
Thank you very much. Have a great session.
Excellent.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be sponsoring this event. Let me share my screen. We have some technical issues here. Let me do that again. Okay. So I will be talking about how you can tackle your onboarding, KYC, and AML challenges. That is the subject that I will be touching today, and this is a subject I guess that you find a lot of issues within your organizations. So what is our value proposition? We can help you become KYC and AML compliant with minimum effort using all-in-one technology platform. This is the simplified proposition that we can give you. So what is the core problem here? I mean, I see that you probably recognize Pablo Escobar, and you probably seen the Netflix movie, the Netflix series. So everything starts from either trafficking, human trafficking, bribery and corruption, and everything ends up into money laundering. I mean, these people, they want to put the money into the system and to be able to buy stuff with clean money. And this is the core problem that we have here. So you can see here a very stressful compliance officer, which is stressed out by getting fines from the regulator. Getting stressed regarding reputational damages if there are any cases of money laundering or fraud, getting stressed out of license suspension, and even getting stressed out for imprisonment. So we have the regulation, we have the compliance officer, and we have this situation that you need to handle. So what are the challenges now that you might having with onboarding KYC and AML? I mean, what are the major challenges that you are facing? The first thing is that if you have a manual process of onboarding a client, it's probably very slow. So it might take from 5 to 10 days. Also, it takes 25% of the time of your personnel to update the profile of the clients. So this is the second challenge that you might be facing. The third challenge is that with manual work and manual intervention, you probably have inaccurate results. And you end up with either wrong profiles, or even you might be investigating a majority of false positives. Another important challenge is that you have a costly onboarding. So it might cost from 50 to 200 euros to onboard a client. So these are the major challenges that you might be facing right now. So what are the benefits when you try to KYC? I mean, you might see increasing of productivity of your resources by 60%. You might see an accuracy on the because of the decreasing of false positives, and definitely you can see a reduction of 80% of the revenue needed to onboard a new client. So this is the solution that we are recommending, and we have implemented into many forex companies. So you see a unified, an all-in-one solution where you can integrate it. You can integrate the backend solution with a single API, and you can cover all the steps needed for onboarding a new client, including the identification of your clients through either ID verification providers or electronic identity verification data sources, and an automated way of checking negative list, not only on an ad hoc basis, but on an ongoing monitoring basis as well on a daily mode. And further on, you can see at the bottom the different modules that you need within your compliance solution in order to onboard quickly a new client, but at the same time fulfilling all the obligations needed by the regulators themselves. So you need definitely a risk assessment methodology. So you need a very robust and flexible engine, so you can either do your AML risk assessment, your appropriateness test, your client acceptance. So everything should be within a single compliance solution. Of course, the ongoing monitoring is needed, transaction monitoring. So this is another big factor for success for you, and not only for obligation reasons. So you need to be able to monitor the transactional behavior of your clients, and you can achieve that only through a robust transaction monitoring engine and through a vendor that has implemented this solution in several forex companies. And the important thing is that through a single unified compliance solution, you can integrate easily with your existing CRM solution and not be trying to make any small changes needed within your CRM to cover the compliance obligations needed by the regulators. So eventually, what we provide to you, a single API that you can connect to several proprietary databases, including Work Compliance and WorkCheck, and our own negative list and sanctioned list. So you don't need to implement, let's say, Work Compliance, and then if you want to change it, you need to implement another API. We give you a single API, and you can do all this through a single platform. Another thing that you need in order to quickly onboard your clients is definitely verifying the documentation instantly to see if the document, the ID or the passport is forged or tampered. You need to capture the selfie of the client to see if this is a live person And then finally, you need to match the photo from the ID versus the selfie that you have taken. So this is the way that you can onboard the clients and identify them within seconds, and also verify the utility bill and cover the address verification as well. So this is what we call ID proofing and verification, and this can be easily embedded within your current procedures. And as you probably know, I mean, SAISEC and there are a lot of regulators as well, they have started accepting the ID proofing, the client remote onboarding through these solutions, and they are in the mode of drafting right now new guidelines so that the IT vendor gives you an assurance of the process that you're making is correct. Now, another area that I'm sure you are challenged with is the electronic identity verification. So this is another way of identifying and onboarding a client within seconds. So what we have done, we are now connected with external data sources in 50 countries, where by giving us just the full name through a single API, address, national ID, and the date of birth, we can verify and we can give you the actual matches that we found against those data sources. So we cover many most of the European countries. We cover many countries in the APAC region, including India, China, Vietnam, Singapore, to mention some of them. We cover many countries in the Americas as well. So this is a way of either identifying and onboarding a client and approving a client automatically through electronic identity verification. Then you might do the identity proving as well to make a much stronger case as far as the identification of the client goes. And then checking within the negative list as well through a single API. Now, this is something that I've shown in the previous Big Forex Breakfast as well. So this is not a KYC, this is not a KYM, this is know your affiliates. I mean, I know that a lot of you are struggling when onboarding new affiliates and finding the quality that the affiliate can give you, that can provide to you. So what we have done, we have created an AI engine where we can monitor the posts that their affiliates, your affiliates are making. So we can analyze the different photos that are posted. For example, in this case, you can see a photo with euros, with wine. So we have captured this photo automatically, and we presented it to the compliance officer so they can stop the affiliate of posting such images and avoiding fines as well. I mean, you probably heard lately that there were some Forex companies that their license has been suspended because of their affiliates and the posts that their affiliates have made on different social media channels. Also within the same solution, we can capture whether the images that your affiliates are making do not contain any celebrities. So in this example down here, you can see that we have identified that Will Smith, with a confidence of 100%, is posted by this social media profile. So this is another thing that you can automate, so you can avoid fines and you can have peace of mind, of course. Now, this is the backend solution. So you can see here that we can handle within the same compliance solution different jurisdictions that you might be operating. So you might need one solution that you can handle different jurisdictions that you operate in. Okay, and within this solution, we can give you immediately the full compliance profile of the clients with the connections that I have made before, that I have shown you before, with all the details, data coming from identity verification, identity proofing, document verification, even the screening is already embedded within the solution. And this can be tightly integrated within your CRM. So it's a couple of days effort needed by your CRM developers to integrate our backend compliance solution, so you can have everything together. Also, one thing that differentiates us from others is that we have a compliance workflow engine, so you can streamline your daily compliance operations. So this is very important because you will be saving at least 70 to 80% the time of your compliance officers on doing the onboarding, on doing the risk assessment, on doing the transaction monitoring, on doing several things related to their daily operations. And thus, they will be concentrating on the actual true positives. So now, as a company, we are serving right now 300 clients from the financial industry, including 3 regulators. The Forex compliance solution, more as well as in insurance companies and companies from the gaming sector. I will be very happy to hear from you. You can visit our website to see further details about our onboarding, KYC, and AML solutions, and see how we can serve you so that you can feel, you can be pain-free regarding your obligations on AML. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Christos. That was great. We've got a lot going on in the last few years with compliance and regulations, and thank you very much for demystifying a lot of the KYC and anti-money laundering issues. Quick question though, of all the services that you offer, which are the more popular ones right now? Which are brokers taking up?
The transaction monitoring is one of the services that they prefer right now, Brad. Because as you know, the Forex industry, they have huge volumes, so they cannot do it manually. But at the same time, they want a very robust solution, because every Forex company, they have their own, let's say, approach on what they will be, on what they should be monitoring. And one of the things that we are very robust is integrating any type of any CRM that they have through our very dynamic APIs that we are offering to them. So transaction monitoring is one of them, and definitely risk assessment is the second most favorite module, let's say.
All right. And also on that topic, just for the benefit of the viewers, on the right-hand side of the webinar, we've got polls. And one of the questions, what are the biggest challenges brokers are facing right now? And the answers are, take your pick, risk management, KYC, technical issues, or managing remote staff. So I think you've covered 2 of those issues. Right, Christos, I'd like to thank you for, again, for two things, for sponsoring this event, and also for demystifying KYC and AML. Okay, let's move on. Thanks again, Christos. We'll see you soon. Oh, and there were a couple of technical issues with your audio, so if anybody has any questions, please pop them on the questions for Christos or the chat line. We did lose you a few seconds off and on. Okay, next up, I'm going to pass over to Charlie on a topic that's very close to my heart and her heart, obviously, and that's FX marketing in the fourth quarter. So we're going to be looking at what trends we're seeing after the summer, and we'll be digging into what do we do next. So thank you very much, and take it away, Charlie.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Brad. Obviously, my favorite topic, marketing. We're a content marketing agency, but we're handling all kinds of marketing for brokers, banks, fintech. We feel this is a really interesting time. I'm not going to say it's the new normal. I don't believe that it is the new normal, but I do want to hear from marketers who are at the moment going through various different challenges, trying to adapt and trying to manage situations as we have them. So I'm really excited to be joined by three awesome panelists today. I've got Natalia Hanik from Advanced Markets Group. I have Mihalis Michael from the lovely Tickmill, and I have Anna Ilyukina from Swiss Chain. So welcome, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Big Forex Breakfast 2. I am going to kick off with a generic question. Perhaps you can all chip in and answer this one. How has your social media strategy or your content marketing strategy changed during 2020? Let's start with Mihalis and go around. Mihalis, I think you're on mute. Let's unmute you.
Hello, hello everyone.
Yeah, we've got you.
It's a pleasure to be here with you and share my insights from my daily experience with the content marketing. And well, to begin with, we were experiencing the rise of the contact-free economy, which is becoming the new normal, apparently. A situation in which human contact is minimized, and our priorities have changed, and content marketing is no exception to this. People are stuck at home and spending more and more time on the internet and social media, and are looking for inspiration and new ways to be entertained. And also they're looking for sources of distraction to get away from this adverse reality. And as such, the content strategy changes accordingly. And the marketing has a big role to play to appease this anxiety. I would also like to add that people no longer follow brands just to buy products or services, but also to connect with the brands.
Okay, excellent. And what about you, Natalia? What do you think? What's changed this year? You're on mute, I think, Natalia. Can you unmute?
Sorry about that. Hi, morning, everyone. Hey, I think a lot of things have changed in 2020. It's been a year that, kind of reshaped all the businesses and all of us. In terms of marketing, I mean, I'm obviously coming from the B2B side of things. I think a lot of focus has shifted towards, building brand awareness using various channels. I mean, we've been cut off from the real world. So especially on the B2B side of things, we've been accustomed to a lot of networking in person and a lot of events in person, and all of that, unfortunately, isn't happening in 2020. So we had to redo quite a bit of things in the marketing in terms of the way we approach the field, and a lot of focus, as I've mentioned, has shifted towards online and digital channels to spread the brand awareness. And I think that's the most kind of notable change in terms of the approach in marketing.
Exactly. Can you give me one tangible that you changed this year? What changed?
Well, I think, we probably will cover that, a little bit later, but I mean, a lot has shifted towards social. That's kind of the way that we can all easily interact with our audience. Everyone is on their phones and everyone is glued to the screens for a long period of time, especially during the times of severe lockdowns. So that's the social media is probably one of the easiest ways to, kind of establish that connection with the target audience. And so from our side, we've always been big on content marketing, but right now to disseminate that information that we build, we obviously use a lot more social media channels, knowing that our audience, even, maybe people who haven't used it in the past and now, kind of that's their window to the world, and they're forced to, even if they don't like it.
Right. And Anna, how about you? What's changed this year for you?
Hi, everyone. Well, again, I will join my panelists here as well. I would say that we've also moved towards putting more efforts towards social media marketing. We did realize that there was a lot of people not just having free time and more time and using their mobile devices and so on. We realized that people were also, during lockdown, were looking heavily for second income or online income and things like this. So for us, it was a good strategy to move in that direction. We've also noticed that because there was an increase of people, specifically on channels like Facebook, the leads had become cheaper. So we did increase budget, but we also got much more than what we were, let's say, initially planning to get. So yeah, it was a kind of a good move in that direction, and it made a difference for us.
Okay, so that's a really interesting point, and it kind of leads nicely into the next question. Obviously, here at ContentWorks, we're watching all of the companies, how they're performing. We've had a very good year in terms of volatility. I think we can all agree on that, although not a good year in other circumstances, let's say. But what I'm really interested in is, it was very volatile for traders this year. Brokers were seeing good profits. Everybody was really excited, more work. But which channels and which methods of content were actually reaching the audience and converting? For example, were we talking about Insta stories, videos, home education? Maybe Mihalis, you can kick off with this one. Unmute. Hold on, Mihalis, you're on mute.
Well,
great.
During the lockdown period, definitely social media has been a very popular space for our audience. So we experimented a lot with dynamic content like videos and GIFs, especially GIF ads, video ads that played on Instagram and Facebook as well. So I would say that Facebook and Instagram were among the most popular social platforms. But we also experimented with other emerging applications like TikTok, for example, which has been especially high in demand during the lockdown period.
What did you guys do on TikTok? I didn't see it.
Excuse me?
What did you do on TikTok?
We primarily run ads there.
Okay.
But it has been very popular, especially from the side of influencers. And one of our experts has been capitalizing on TikTok in order to capture the attention of the audience and play with creative ways and attract their audience with TikTok and thoughtful and creative TikTok videos, which have indeed proved very influential. And
yeah, they do. Natalia, how about you?
I mean, similar. I think a lot of content that was converted. I mean, for us, it's always something that is, carrying a good, knowledge provides a good knowledge for the clients or for potential clients. For us, being the mostly B2B business, the social platform of choice by far is probably LinkedIn. Although, of course, there is still quite a bit of content sharing going on other platforms, but in terms of conversion, I would say LinkedIn is probably the best performing. And of course, I mean, everyone is in this a vacuum, especially during the lockdown. So we were trying to be creative with the type of content. Perhaps instead of the articles, use a lot more video content, more interactive content that will engage users. Also, of course, there's a lot of there's obviously a lot of kind of social and isolation issues. So we've been trying to also kind of relieve that social media fatigue by trying to to also be creative with the content, be empathetic, and be funny. Trying to experiment with the content in real time.
Exactly. And how about you, Anna?
Again, I will join Natalia here that we've changed the strategy to be more empathetic, and after the time passed, we realized there was time to kind of move towards more also funny content, so that to take away this negative perception of the whole situation that we were all living through. We did also experiment a lot with video content. We did start to create a lot of educational, both videos and let's say articles about trading, how to trade, how to get into these things, which were more directed to, as I mentioned earlier, that we're looking for second income. Like as an example, we've also, for example, at the very beginning, especially when Cyprus was hit with the lockdown, we've created content on our website that was also shared on all our social media channels, where to get more information about COVID, what are, like the precautions you have to take. But then later on, we moved to just more comical and more funny content again, just to kind of break the seriousness up. I would say that.
Absolutely. So one of the things that's coming out through a lot of the conversations that we're having is that there is this, as Natalia said, a very real social media fatigue happening. And I think we can see it for webinars, we can see it for online events. I know all of us feel like, oh gosh, another Zoom call. We're all getting a little bit tired. So I'm interested, when it comes to social media and content, how are you guys addressing this kind of fatigue? How are you getting attention on your posts, on your tweets in the current environment? Michalis?
Yeah, well, I'll refer particularly to the lockdown period, which has seen, as I said before, an unprecedented increase of traffic in our social media. And although nothing can replace the warmth of human connection, we could still convey a warm, personable persona from distance by showing empathy and compassion through our social media, and build relationships with our audience, meaningful relationships involving two-way communication. But I would also like to add that we've seen the COVID-19 situation not as a challenge, but also as an opportunity to convey the transparent side of our brand by communicating, for example, how work from home employees do at home, and also other side of their daily routine, working from home, sending Easter packages to our employees.
Nice.
Also, we emphasized on our CSR stories and the activities that we ran during the COVID period.
CSR is corporate social responsibility for anyone not in marketing. So this means doing charitable work, you know, your employees, tagging people, very human focused, isn't it?
And yep. And also, we offer daily inspiration and information to help everyone stay active, positive, and motivated during this hard time.
Very nice, very nice. And Natalia, how about you guys?
Been very similar kind of strategies, and of course, you know, in order to combat this, you know, digital fatigue, like we all understand, you know, people need to take a break away from the, you know, computer screens, and so you know, something we already discussed, which is iterating content from, you know, serious to a little bit funny one to kind of, you know, relieve that you know, stress for everyone, trying to interact more. I mean, for better or worse, I mean, everyone is on Zoom, and for us, I mean, a lot of businesses, of course, interacting with the clients, and you know, we all use Zoom, and the reason for that is we are trying to bring that human component into the conversation, so everyone goes on video, just so that instead of the phone conversation, people can see you, and there is at least some element of that, you know, normal human interaction. I mean, of course, it's hard to compare to the real human interaction, but it's still some interaction. So I think definitely a lot more video calls, and you know, a lot more of trying to you know, convey that you're a real human being into the person on the other you know, side of the line.
Yeah, absolutely. And Anna?
We've also had a lot of video calls, both with clients and, let's say, as employees with our third-party suppliers and things like this. So it did switch from just having regular phone calls or follow-ups to more video and more interactive, like sort of face-to-face, but not really interaction, right? At the same time, we've also improved the customer support. So the people could, like any customer could have contacted us any time of the day. The team was split globally to cover all the hours and to make sure that they were available to reply to clients on all of the channels, starting from our website and live chat, going to the phone calls, going on to like replying to social media messages and even posts. Yes, things like this. And also another thing that we've done as a team, we used to host quite often sort of Zoom calls where everybody would just get a glass of wine and would chat up about like what's going on. So this used to be on Fridays afternoons. Yeah, just to get everybody's mind off, and also to see our colleagues like globally and to see how everyone is doing it.
I love that. That's so important. The morale with the colleagues, I think, is really important. That's something that maybe has got a bit forgotten. We actually have a question on the right-hand side that people are discussing from Ramila, actually. She says, do you really believe things will go back to the way they were, or has this kind of digitization left its mark? Let's stay with you, Anna, on this. Do you think that, talking in marketing specifically, things will go back, or we can only go forward from here?
I believe we can only go forward from here because, anyway, Forex generally is a more online marketing business, right? Of course, there's a lot of offline marketing happening to support that. But I think sort of in today and moving forward, like we'll be definitely putting more efforts into online advertising and to trying to find new creative ways to approach the same channels we were using, and also like Mihalis was saying, try new platforms, because nowadays our audience is everywhere and it's much more easy accessible being like online and on their phones and their laptops and so on.
Exactly. And Natalia, staying on the subject of whether we go forward or back, is there anything that you think that we should be doing that we're not doing yet, or something that we should be dropping? What do you think?
I think online events is probably something. I mean, of course, there's a certain value in the in-person events. However, online events, I think, will, moving forward, I mean, even post-COVID, I think online events will augment the in-person events. I mean, with all the drawbacks of online events, I think it covers a lot more people, right? I mean, when you are having an in-person event somewhere in London, not everyone can make it. Not everyone can join in. And so right now, even in the schools, you know, they practice this new way of having some kids in the school and some kids remote. So I think moving forward, that experience, in-person experience, will be augmented by the online experience, which essentially will expand the reach tremendously, the audience, in terms of the audience for any event organizers.
Yeah, absolutely. And Michalis, what do you think?
I believe that we'll continue finding creative ways to connect with our audience and add extra value to their trading experience. But also we'll keep on strengthening our presence on social media, since physical events will be cancelled, and continue to offer new ways to expand our reach through digital platforms in order to fill the gap that would otherwise be offered through physical events, seminars, networking events.
I'm curious, Michalis, have you, and the others perhaps, have you been assigned additional budget, for example, for content and social media now that there's not actual in-person events and magazines are not so popular?
Definitely, yes. We increased our budget, especially in the field of webinars, social media ads, text ads, which is a pivotal part of our marketing mix.
Yeah.
And I believe this will be a trend that will continue in the years ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And that leads on to sort of the last question, actually. If you had, let's say, an additional 10,000 budget every single month going into 2021, what do you think it should be spent on?
Digital advertising.
Specifically AdWords or?
Definitely AdWords, in order to reach our global audience. Text ads are an integral part of our strategy to increase our leads, but also our traffic to our website and sales. But also we utilize other social media platforms, social media.
And presumably, Michalis, with all of this additional traction happening online, you've had to increase online support. Are your support team also online?
Yes, they do. And we also try to refine and continually improve our support through our social media profiles like Facebook. We have incorporated chatbots so that we provide the best possible service to our clients 24/7.
Yeah, yeah. And Natalia, over to you. If you had that fantasy extra 10,000 every month going into 2021, where are you spending it?
I would probably spend it on video production and producing video content. I think this is the new way. I mean, everyone's attention span is so limited. You know, reading larger pieces of content in today's world becomes challenging for so many people. So I think building up more of the video library with useful videos, whether it's a walkthrough or a how-to or just information pieces. And explanation pieces, I would certainly spend more budget on the video production.
And is that for YouTube or TikTok or Instagram? Where would you be putting those videos?
Different types of videos. I mean, obviously long-winded videos, short videos for social media. All sorts of durations to cater to different platforms. I just think the video became that piece of content that is very engaging and sought after in this new normal world.
Right. And Anna, how about you? 10,000 a month extra. Where are you spending it?
Yeah. Well, guys, I'll just start quickly by giving a quick introduction. So I very recently left from Forex, and I've joined a company which is B2B, and they're selling digital asset platforms. So I think I'll be taking some of Natalia's tips now, because I also believe that video is very strong. But now moving forward to more B2B business, I would also be saying that I'll be putting some of these budgets towards PR, because Swiss Chain is a very new brand, so it needs to, you know, we need to work now on brand awareness and things like this, and to also reach the correct target audience, which is no longer retail clients.
Yeah, absolutely. And PRs like B2B PRs, I'm assuming.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we know that they're quite expensive online, so that's probably your 10,000 budget used up fairly fast. Okay, we're actually running out of time, so I think it's been a really great discussion. I'm so grateful to have the three of you with me today. Such marketing professionals. You know that I look at your work and you know that I admire your work. I want to thank you for joining us. Natalia, it's the middle of the night there, I think, so thank you so much.
I'll go on with my day.
You get an extra coffee. Guys, thank you so much. We can continue the conversation on hashtag Big Forex Breakfast over on Twitter. Thanks.
Thank you.
Everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, that was great, guys. Thanks a lot. Yeah, and it was interesting to see a good mixture between B2B and B2C. I get involved in both, and good to see you again, Natalia. Quick question, though. In terms of video content, what do the brokers, Anna and Michaela, find works best? I mean, we've got market commentaries, education, webinars. What do you guys find works the best? Just, I see they're gone. Just pop your notes onto on the chat line, and we can catch up later. Right. So I'd like to introduce the next topic. We've got Nikki as our moderator, and we'll be looking at getting excited about predictions for the rest of the year from Jamil Ahmad, the Director of Investment at Naga. So I'd like to hand back to Nikki and take it from there.
Hi, thanks, Alexander. Good morning, Jamil.
Good morning, and great to be with all of you.
Excellent. Just a quick introduction. Jamil Ahmad is Director of Investment Strategies at Naga Markets. He's over a decade of experience in the financial markets with specialty in currencies, commodities, and emerging markets. And he's a frequent contributor on top-tier channels, publications. So we've only got 10 minutes, and I really want to look at some of the topics that we're going to cover in our 10 minutes, basically from a market perspective, what's happening in the markets, and there's a lot going on right now. But also, how can we as brokers take these market insights and translate them into kind of actionable trades for our clients, plus always being compliant. Jamil, why don't you start off with some of the key things that are going on right now?
Sure. Thank you so much for that, Nikki, and good morning, good afternoon to all of you once again. So there's essentially 3 topics in this 10 minutes that we're going to go under. And we're going to include the pandemic, which of course we now need to talk about once again. This is starting to become more, apparent in our daily lives. I come sitting in London, where I've just seen 20 minutes ago, Tier 2 restrictions have been announced as of Friday on midnight. We've also got the Brexit talks, which is extremely fatiguing, but yet it's something that is still happening. And of course, we can't not talk about the upcoming presidential elections, which should be a critical market volatility event, not just in terms of how we conclude 2020, but also what happens over the next couple of years. So I think I will start with the pandemic, first of all. We were going to go in a different order, but I think now that more countries are announcing more restrictions, you've got the curfews that were announced overnight in France, UK is certainly coming, and it's going to happen. We do expect for London to be in a lockdown within days. That's how serious the situation is starting to get and how it's starting to exacerbate. So I think what I would look for from a broker and from a marketing perspective is that this is a critical opportunity where people will be moving back towards working from home. Many people still at home, but more essentially, they won't be able to carry out their daily activities due to the fear factor of what might happen if you leave your apartment or if you leave your house, for example. So I think this is where interest in trading and investing, it really started a trend in the first quarter. We saw that big platforms were announcing, massive streams of traffic to websites, acquisitions, and so on. So I think that this is going to be an opportunity for the industry. But actually, I also see it as a change for the industry too, because we're going to see more algorithms and more robots. And this is the specific thing that I think that brokers will thrive on market volatility environments. But in fact, this is going to turbocharge the next couple of years for brokers, where we're going to see many more robots, algorithms, and money management firms. So I think that's one of the key ones that I would bring up here, because it's going to be an opportunity for businesses over the next couple of years. I don't know if Nikki, you want to follow up on that one particularly?
I think we're definitely seeing an increased rise, well, in algo trading. That's something that we've seen as content marketers through our clients that are, actually requesting more kind of education and more content about that. So I think that's definitely a way that the industry has moved.
Sure.
But with some of these, as a market analyst and somebody who delivers, advice to, well, not advice, because you obviously compliantly can't advise, but you deliver information of what's happening to the market. What are some of the best ways in which brokers can get that information across? Is it through video? Is it through being in publications? Is it like a daily email? I mean, you've had a lot of experience in working with different companies. What are some of the best channels in which to get across that market analysis that people can kind of pick up and action immediately?
It's great because content now has to be digestible in such a short manner, because the world, as we know and learning this year, it's very dynamic. So actually the best source of information that I'm using right now, but very quick info that could change market sentiment or could change how investment trends carry out, it's actually Twitter. This is where I see that it's been the fastest to go, what's happening with the pandemic, which countries might be announcing lockdowns next, and so on, because I think that the word unprecedented's been used so much this year for what 2020 has been, but I think it's really forcing media channels, specifically your more traditional media outlets that you would watch on TV and so on, to be much faster to react, and specifically on social media forces. We saw this anyway since 2016, that trend was starting to come in, but I think this year specifically has turbocharged it. And in fact, my latest lockdown news, although it's not always verified, it gives me an instinct towards what could happen. And this is where I pick up on Twitter the most. Specifically, markets are selling off today because it looks like, I know many people have their hands around their ears because they don't want to hear it, but it looks like we're having an unfortunate recipe of deja vu and history repeating itself, because the exact same lockdowns we saw 6 months ago are happening again. I don't think it would lead to so much volatility as what we saw 6 months ago, because a lot of businesses, and specifically corporate institutions, the banks and so on, adapted to working from home then. But yeah, it brings uncertainty to the market, and uncertainty is always good for this kind of industry because, change fuels market moves.
Yeah, and today is actually quite a specific day on a couple of those topics that you were touching on regarding Brexit and also the elections.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, so when we were putting together this agenda, we were actually expecting for the third presidential debate between, Democratic nominee and the current United States president to be taking place tonight. Now that does not appear to be the case. Instead, we're going to get a call from the Democrats. We're going to get a call from those who are sitting in the Oval Office right now, and they seem to coincide at the exact same time, which is very difficult for a broker. It's also very difficult for any kind of financial industry to adapt to, because you're going to have one channel saying this is going to happen, yes, voters are going to like this, and then you've got the Oval Office that are going to say, look, we believe this election is going to be contested, and so on, so on, so on. And I think this is going to create a problem with, a challenge to create marketing campaigns around the United States election, because we might really have a contested election where, if the consensus is right, and if the Democrats do win from a wide margin, you're going to have a sitting president say it's a rigged election.
You're so right, because I remember 2016, Charlotte and I were working together actually, and we had prepared a, what if Trump wins campaign, and what if, Trump doesn't, if Hillary wins campaign. And I think, fast forward 4 years later, and as marketers, you have to be, much more on the point and much more immediate and flexible and ready to react to more than just two options, an option that, is completely unthought of.
Yeah, I think you have to have plan A, B, C, D, E, and F, and ready to put any of them at the front at any time. Essentially, I think from a broker perspective, it's pretty clear that the market is positioned in a direction that we're going to have a change of president, and that the Democrats are going to be in power once again, which means a victory for Joe Biden. But I think from what would create the most volatility, specifically now we're trying to exit 2020, it's if we see polls between now and the upcoming elections show that, you know what, the lead that everybody thinks that Joe Biden has overwhelmingly, it's not quite as clear as that. And I think that's where the market can shift, because we see a lot of negative sentiment on the US dollar. A lot of traders and consensus are believing that the euro and other currencies are going to appreciate quite wildly over the next 12 months or so based on Joe Biden becoming president. But in fact, I don't think those same consensus take into account, one, this pandemic could be in place for longer than anybody wants to see. And secondly, what if President Trump does create another shock? I would not rule out anything after what we've seen over the past couple of years.
Not ruling anything out in 2020, that's for sure.
Exactly.
Okay, well, we've got another minute left. I don't see any specific questions at the moment. Let's finish off with your home ground, Brexit.
Yeah, I know. This one is, I can't believe that 4 years later we're still needing to talk about this. And 4 years later, so few of us, including myself, actually understand what the Brexit really means. And essentially what we are expecting today is the deadline unofficially from Boris Johnson that the UK and EU need to meet a trade agreement. Now, that was an unofficial deadline as an act of theatre and pantomime from the UK Prime Minister, taking a leap out of President Trump's book to say, look, we have to hit a deal now. Now, the market doesn't believe that's going to be in place, which is another reason why the market's creating quite a sour mood also around the pound, UK assets, and the euro, European assets. But because this is it's a market issue more than anything else, for brokers, it's still a great opportunity here, because the assets that will move to Brexit news are, in fact, the common assets of a traditional brokerage, which will mean FX, currencies, the pound and the euro, and the same with the EU and the UK equity market. So we don't see unconventional assets away from the broker norm to be moving to such news. So there still is a lot going on. It's been very busy in 2020, but I do still think that Q4 is going to have a few more twists and turns.
Excellent. Right. Fantastic. Thank you, Jamil. Thanks so much for joining us. And I think that's us for now. We'll be moving on to a coffee break next, I believe.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye.
Yeah, thanks, Nikki. That was awesome. Yeah. I've actually got a question for your last guest in terms of volatility. I wonder if we're going to be seeing, assuming Joe Biden gets in, a lot less in the way of disruptions in the market from someone's Twitter account. I think as a trader, and a lot of people can attest to this, is that many times our good friend Donald Trump's Twitter account upended a lot of trades. So it was quite interesting. Anyway, we're going to go for a coffee break right now. So we'll be back in about 5 minutes. But I'd like to remind everyone that there are polls and a chat line down the right side of your screen. And I do see one, what will move the markets in fourth quarter? And we've got Brexit, US elections, and COVID-19. I'd like to throw in one more, and that's US-China trade relations. We do a lot of market commentaries, and we find that US-China is a huge mover of the markets. If any of the brokers out there agree with that or would like to comment on that, please pop up. Anyway, so we'll be back in a few minutes. We'll be back at 11:55 Central European time, and let's go for a quick coffee break. Thanks a lot.
So we have last 2 minutes of the break, indeed.
Hi, Marta. I'm also jumping in. I wanted just to take a moment. Sorry, I think I might have cut you off there, but I just wanted to thank and say no, thank you. So everything is going really well. Quick update: we've had great engagement. I really enjoy seeing people interacting. We're just about to to start your discussion as well. We're on a coffee break right now. I thought I would take a quick minute to say thank you to everyone so far for your contributions, for your interaction. I really am enjoying the engagement. It's been great. We're going to be looking at the polls as well. So please, let's all get involved and share our thoughts there. I would like to also take a moment to thank our sponsor once more, iSpiral. Christos, thank you for your presentation. Thank you for your contribution. And we have shared your calendar for anyone who'd like to book a meeting directly with you, as well as a few more details about your company, your presentations. Everyone will receive a copy of this video link sent directly to your emails right after the webinar, which is great. We will also have, please note, we will have it posted on our YouTube channel, which is called QUBE Intelligence. And please follow us on LinkedIn. So I'm getting off. Coffee break is over. Thank you to everybody, and I'll see you at the end. Thank you.
Thanks, Lily. Yeah, welcome back, everyone, from our very quick coffee break. Let's take a look at the next lineup. We have a fireside chat, a tech chat with live Q&A, and the presenter will be actually a client that I've worked with in the past from financial source called Arno Ventner. So I'd like to pass over to Arno to take it away from here. Thanks a lot.
Great stuff. Thank you so much, Brad. Really appreciate it. And thanks to QUBE for allowing me the privilege to moderate at this fantastic event. As you guys saw, that my name is Arno Venter. Basically, I'm sitting in for Financial Source, a senior market analyst with them. Our strategy is very simple. We basically try to combine the efficiency of a news feed and combine that with global macro strategy, short-term sentiment, currency analysis, etc. And focus is basically two-part. Firstly, individual based for individual traders, and then also broker outreach. So with that out of the way, before we get stuck into the session, I think let's just quickly go around the stage and just do a quick introduction for everybody. So if I mention your name, just say where you're from and what you do so that everybody can just be introduced. Let's start with Alexander.
Hello there. I am currently ex-head of trading at Jefferies as they have shut down their EFX business. Have spent a lot of my time as head of trading for retail brokers and very much involved in the tech space now.
Awesome. Thanks. Ian?
Hello, yeah, my name's Ian Daniels. I'm currently head of VFX distribution for EMEA and Americas at Naga, based in London. The role involves mainly collaboration with sales, trading and technology teams here to enhance our product capabilities in the electronic space and heads of sales across the business on the distribution strategy of our area.
Awesome. Thanks. Katrina?
Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yeah. Hi. So I'm the Vice President of Sales at Carnex, part of Global Link, owned by State Street. I am I'm responsible for coverage of banks, non-banks, corporate asset managers. So yeah, glad to be here today. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks. Christos, I think we've already been introduced to Christos.
So I'm the managing director. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry, Chris.
Right. So I'm just to repeat myself. So I'm the managing director of iSpiral. We are a regulatory technology company focusing on helping Forex companies on their onboarding processes journey, KYC and AML.
Thanks, Christos. I promise. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
You are doing it even better than me. So my name is Ramis, and I am the founder and CEO of Tradepedia, which is an academy that we teach traders about trading. We give them some nice toys to play with, and many Forex brokers are my clients.
Awesome. Thank you so much, I promise. Appreciate that. Okay, guys, so we've got a couple of questions that we're going to plan and run through. We'll try and get through all of them. And so let's start with the first one. And let's jump back to Avramis for this. In the FX space, my current specialization is in the global macro space, is in the broad currency market. So from an FX space point of view, what is the most exciting technological development or theme that's keeping you up at night right now? But In a good way, not in a bad way, of course.
Well, actually, my answer is an oxymoron, because actually the technological developments that are happening now, with all the AIs that are coming in, with all the robots that are doing the work for us, brackets, I just bought an amazing robot that does the hoovering in the house, highly recommended. Okay, so it's actually not keeping me up at night, because I don't anymore have to worry about managing traders. I don't have to worry about them going crazy at night because they had too much to drink or too little to drink. So I actually have a tool now. I have a machine, I have a robot, I have an algorithm that can do my trading, and I don't worry that it's going to go crazy. So I actually sleep very well at night. And I no longer have to hack my wife and see my mobile behind what's the market doing. So it's actually a very nice development of what's happening in the markets now.
Awesome. Thanks, Aframis. Let's move to Katrina.
Well, I loved your answer, Avramis. For us, actually, from a business development perspective, we're seeing a lot of the regulatory focus, and that's what's keeping me up at night. It's unfortunately a short-term focus is taken away from sales and business development, because there is a lot. I think it's great opportunity for reg tech firms if they exist, and I would love someone to automate it for us. But at the moment, it's very time and effort efficient from our perspective. So that's probably what's keeping me at night, to be completely honest. On the positive side, we've had a very, very positive good year. Through quarter one, through unprecedented volatility, we had excellent tried and battle-tested technology. So from technological perspective, I think we feel in a very strong position to continue the growth and development. So that's some of the positives that happen through unprecedented, volatile, and unusual times that we're all facing right now.
Yeah, okay, awesome. Very interesting. Thanks for that. Christos?
I think we can ease your pain, Katrina, with the pain that you have. From what we have seen, at least this couple of years, the major, let's say, breakthrough that we see is the electronic identification of the clients. So more and more external data sources are opened, so you can identify more easily that the client that you're trying to cooperate is actually him. So this is one of the breakthroughs that I see, and more external data sources are opening in the next few years, and governmental data sources actually. So that is one of the breakthroughs that I see. The second one is definitely the machine learning in the subject matters of both transaction monitoring and risk management.
Okay.
And this is actually what, it will make the life easier of Forex companies, both on onboarding, but also on the continuous monitoring of the clients. So you can concentrate then on your actual trading business.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for that, Christos. And let's move to Alexander.
First of all, I agree with Christos there that I think, what I'm really excited about, especially having seen both sides of the bank versus sort of broker argument, is that there's a lot of new technology now, both on an analytic point of view and also market making technology, to allow the brokers and the brokers with ambitions to actually really rival the tier 2 banks. No one's going to touch the tier 1 banks. So for a broker willing to spend a bit of money, and in the grand scheme of things, not even that much money, they really can have the sort of the technology and the analytics that previously you needed a huge budget and and a lot of quants to be able to achieve.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Alexander. And Ian, let's move over to your side.
Oh yes. So I think from our perspective here at Nomura, it's been an interesting and challenging year for us so far. For me, it's the continuing electronification of the FX market that I think is keeping me up. But in a positive way, I think if you look at the growth of algo execution, it's about ensuring we have the right products there to sort of move along with that growth. And as well, if you look at the electronification, should I say, of NDFs and options execution, I think that what we noticed is that the themes that were prevalent in the spot market, 5-10 years ago, moving into these worlds at a quickening pace. So that's the kind of figures we're spending time on, and I think we get into this a bit later, but the current situation that we're in kind of accelerates some of those moves. So I think that we always look for positives in the things that are happening around us, and I think that is one.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, guys. So let's move on to the second one. And I think this follows on nicely from what we heard from Jamil as well, talking about this topic previously. So the question is, to what extent do you think technology in the likes of high frequency trading as well as automated trading has reduced the, let's call it the edge of traditional traders that they have in the market? And do you think the technological advances like this means that the gap is closing for manual traders? I think let's start with Aframis with this one, talking about his latest robot that he has.
It was actually funny listening to the question, because I was wondering in my mind, did actually traditional traders ever have an edge over the markets? Okay, but yes, let's assume that there is definitely the gap is closing. Okay, high frequency trading, of course, there is two types of high frequency trading, as we know. It's the predatory, the one that is just trying to steal from the market, and we have the one that is sort of trading. So high frequency trading, I mean, it's there, it's not available to the retail investor, and I don't think it will ever become available to the retail investor. And it's creating more volatility, obviously. Many say that all the flash crashes we had was because of these nice algorithms that are going around. And so I don't really think that the traditional trader is losing an edge, because he never had it against the high frequency trading, right? But what will affect actually the high frequency trading is the way the regulation is going to go into that direction. And this, I believe, is the key that is going to change the market. Now, my view is that I prefer algorithms that are actually replacing the trader completely, but not in a high frequency sense. They take normal decisions on normal time frames, but they are based on preset conditions. And with the onset of the AI now, I think we don't even know what our algorithm is doing anymore, yes? So we trained it 4 years ago. Now God knows if it's still following what we taught it, but at least it's making money. So this is the thing. I don't think that the retail trader is ever going to be able to do anything related to high frequency, but they can use AI and algorithms to help them in their trading.
Okay, awesome. Alexander, let's move over to your side.
Well, I think you've got to split this up into short-term and long-term. With our works and having worked at a tech company, we spend a lot of time on pricing signals. So, I think Ian will agree with this, that everything the banks and the top brokers are doing, they're not trying to predict what's going to happen in the next 30 seconds and beyond. It's what's going to happen in the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds. And that's that little bit of edge that they'll then hope to hang on to. So in terms of for the private trader, I think as long as the trader is not a scalper or is not trying to beat the market over a 1 minute or shorter time horizon, then I think that they're still good to go. But long-term trading is the way forward. And if I could give any advice from what we used to see from our yield profiles is, if you're not sure when to click the button for your long-term trade, go with the market rather than wait for the market to drop to your level.
Awesome. Thanks for that. Christos?
I mean, what I wanted to add on top of what Avramis said is that, definitely, AI and robots are out there. But, from my perspective of compliance, we need to see the transparency of what is happening on the back. And this is something that the regulators have to push as far as transparency of the logic of AI is using and how they came up with this. I mean, the same goes with the artificial intelligence of finding alerts and cases for money laundering. And this is something that the regulators should point out as far as how did you end up with this specific case or alert. So transparency is a keyword here.
Transparency, okay. And Katrina?
I mean, I used to work for a non-bank market maker, and kind of for us, we were there with the HFTs, and kind of now the low latency and the environment is given for anyone. I was doing some research based on the best text. Our sister company was saying that 80% is obviously in US is now automated, but 40% is done by the algos. So for me, it doesn't seem like a gap. The pilots of the history would be wrestling with a joystick, and now we have an autopilot. So we still kind of, it's a similar way that automated trading is now a given, but you still need the experience and probably an intuition that comes with that of an experienced trader to be able to intervene when necessary and also kind of provide that, human insight that the machine-based learning cannot do. So for me, it seems like it's just creating more efficient, more hopefully transparent market. And, it's obviously very costly to have the whole infrastructure in place. So probably some of the smaller traders would not be able to compete. That's definitely kind of the case. That's what we've seen even this year. Many of the companies, the smaller companies closing, but kind of it means that in the longer term, hopefully everyone, it's not speed, it's not to run to zero. It's kind of more creating a better, efficient, more transparent market. That's how we see it, definitely.
Awesome. And Ian?
Oh yes, as Alex was saying, it's about where the market's going in the next milliseconds to seconds rather than longer term horizons. Generally, on there, if it also depends what you mean by the original question and in what market. You could definitely argue that human trade, that automated trading has and has been discussed, had the edge for quite a long time in the fast-moving spot markets. And also, if you look at the cash trading desks in major banks, years ago when I started, there were tens, 20s of numbers of people on those desks, and now the sort of traditional voice traders is 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So the number of traders is minimal compared to 10 years ago, but it's then what you have is machines managed by pilots, and I think I think we don't fully get away from a human interaction and the experience of people looking at those machines. And we always used to talk about it as like being on an aeroplane, right? You fly it pretty much in autopilot, but there's still a pilot there looking at everything and overseeing things. So you kind of think of an electronic trading desk in that way. So, but it's a continual race to be quicker, and those that have access to more information, tend to have the edge. But I do still think, as I mentioned, there's a need for the human piece and some tradition in there as well too.
Awesome, and I think this links up nicely. We've spoken about AI quite a lot today already, and it's created quite a lot of stirs, not only in the trading community on our industry, but in other spheres of life as well. So, in terms of AI, in your current context of what you do, how big of a part is AI right now in terms of your future developments, and especially in the way of predicting the future moves of the market? Do you guys think that AI will eventually completely remove the human element, basically doing a lot more faster computing than we can? Obviously, from a analyst point of view, there's a certain intuition that you get used to the market. There's something that type of experience you can't really teach somebody in a day. It takes years to develop that sort of sense for the market. So do you guys think that AI will eventually replace that as well? Let's start with Avramis.
All right, so that's a great question, because in the old days, just to teach a student how to find the tops and the bottoms, I needed 10 days, yes? And we still couldn't agree all the time. Now we have developed an algorithm that finds the tops and the bottoms for us, so I can give it to him, and in 1 minute we both agree on what the tops and bottoms are, and we can move on to the next level, yes? We can scan thousands of instruments now while before it would take us a team of 500 people analyzing the, let's say, New York Stock Exchange 4,000 instruments, now we can do it with the press of a button, and much more efficiently and much more correctly, and more importantly, more objectively, because the intuition moves into the realm of subjectivity, and there it's a bit shady and gray area. So we can analyze the markets objectively, and objectivity is the key to actually having a method. Because if my method is objective, even if it is wrong, do you know what you have to do to make it right? Just do the opposite. Because it's objective and it's measurable. So this is what I love about algorithms, and this is what I like to teach my students, how to use all these new developments to help them analyze the market. And yes, they can take the final decision, because the key is resource allocation and how much money you are going to put on each trade, and your money management and your risk management, which this hasn't reached yet to that level on the retail AIs at least. So this is where we are. Whether in the future the robots are going to take over, yes, I believe they will take over eventually, yes, and it's going to be Avrami's trading robot versus Arno or Ian or Alexander or Katrina or Christos trading robot. Yes, so it's just the game is not going to change. It's going to be still different ways of trading, different methodologies, different time frames, but robots will do it instead of humans.
Awesome. And let's move over to Ian from your guys' side, from a desk point of view. How big of a discussion is AI right now?
Yeah, I mean, it does depend on what you mean by AI, I guess, and I think using intelligence is kind of being built. It is something that's been happening in the past, and building your models or looking back, it obviously makes sense. I think from a liquidity, we do that as a liquidity provider. Knowing your client base, understanding how to interact with the market is kind of key. Right? It's obviously key in terms of getting more. Being a good liquidity provider and having a profitable business. But I think, the AI definitely helps here. Again, like Avramis was saying, it allows you to do more with less, and it's good resource allocation. But I think to get the most out of it, you require people who understand it, and that's very key. You see the most value in people who can do this. Increasingly looking at hiring mathematicians, computer scientists, engineers, physicists, etc. And teaming these up with market professionals to create that team. And if you have both of these people, then great. I think that's key. So it's the use of AI. It's a bit like data, even in your personal life, sometimes you get too much information, right? And if too much information can be as bad as not enough. So it's about how you manage that information and what you can do with that information.
Awesome. And Alexander?
Yeah, I think Ian's spot on there. That again, for the large organisations, it's an arms race, but it's an arms race you've very much got to be in. For the smaller organisations, I think first of all, you try and ally yourself with the right liquidity providers like Nomura that actually have that tech behind you, to not steal their price, but pass that on to your clients the best way you can. But I think for the smaller players, and even individual traders, it's very much about risk management, where you can use the AI tech on one side to say, typically, where am I making and where am I losing money? The trader always remembers the good trades and forgets some of the bad ones, and just having that intelligence there to say, hey, look, this is normally where it goes wrong. Both for a trading desk, as I said, an individual trader, is very powerful. And then just quickly, last of all, the actual artificial intelligence or machine learning, whatever we want to call it, to actually be analyzing, for the bank or the broker, the underlying clients. The sooner that you can identify the toxic clients, the bad clients, and get them off your books, the happier it's going to keep your LPs up the stack. The more money you're going to make, the more the easier it makes everyone's life within the business. So previously that used to be the job of 3-4 people, and there's always gaps there. Whereas now computers, and quite cheap tech with that AI can actually can do that very, very fast and very effectively.
So do you think it's the AI will move more into the realm of risk management from that side and not really the predictive side, so to speak?
Well, I mean, I think the predictive side is always is really going on, and I think, you know, that's always going to be the domain of the big banks, yeah, and also, you know, the big non-banks like State Street. I think, you know, for the individual trader and the smaller banks, I mean, you know, there's the you know, as Avram says, you know, the sort of short to the medium long term is great for AI, you know, finding the next opportunity. But for brokers, I think that's risk management and client analysis is really where it's sort of starting to kick in, and something they can actually do, you know, something they can actually use AI for to have a real impact.
Awesome. And Katrina?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, to be honest, because kind of you can say AI is just conducting a what if and scenario analysis, right? It can be very simplified in terms what can be done. So yes, you can definitely improve the prediction performance of what liquidity would be like, or what, for instance, volatility is expected to be. But again, in terms of prediction of the next tick, I don't think we can go too far, more than kind of 2 or 3 ticks in advance. What we've seen being kind of in the middle and having a more or less holistic view of the market is that the more complicated the algos, for instance, become for some of the execution or an agency desk, the more they lose in terms of the market impact, you know, kind of even if they try to kind of go for the top of the book, we're seeing that the flow becomes too sharp, it's very hard to price, and their LPs widens them out eventually. So again, kind of, I think during the volatile periods, it shows that some of the very complicated algos have underperformed some of the benchmark algos. So again, I think it might come to a point where as the market becomes oversaturated with the AI, and you go back to good proven experience, you know, intuition, creativity of human capital that the algos and AI cannot provide. That's kind of my personal view. It's not representing anyone else's, but I definitely think, again, kind of the trust, the relationship-based, you know, execution is definitely still very important, especially in the OTC market, even in spite of the electronification, you know, kind of push towards central limit order book, kind of like in equities.
So you think we're moving towards more robotification, if you want to call it that, and then eventually we're going to go back to the more down to what does your intuition tell you about this problem?
To give you a very good example, just very much ad hoc, my husband was playing football last night, and he has a Garmin watch, and it gave me he put it on the running scheme rather than, for instance, him playing football, and he had a collision, and I got an alarming message saying he had a collision. I was all over the place when actually it was just the wrong setting of AI on his watch sending me an emergency and alarming message. So to me, to give that example, I think it's very kind of good analogy for the market as well. You need kind of to know how to run the AI-based learning. You need to know kind of how to operate it to make the correct predictions and correct what-if analysis. So you still need humans, and you need, you know, kind of more than just something machine can tell you.
So do you think that there should be more of a congruent, more of a gel between, like Ian said, the mathematician versus the trader, basically more of a gel between those two working together to find that, let's call it that more simplistic approach. So not overcomplicated by going just on the mathematical side, or making it a little bit too unpredictable by going with more intuition, but just finding that gel somehow between the two.
Yeah, I mean, it's a symbiotic relationship, right? It doesn't have to be one way or another. We obviously have very, very large data sets that need to be analyzed, and it's impossible to do it with kind of, you know, us as humans. You definitely need machines for that. But the oversight and kind of the management obviously has to be done by an experienced trader. So there's definitely, you know, it's complementary. It's definitely not exclusive one or another.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. And Christos, what's your thoughts about all the AI business and all the talk out there right now?
I will speak, I mean, from the compliance point of view. I mean, the major problem that we have right now is that the compliance officers and the risk managers, they have a huge workload. I mean, 70% of the cases that they want to handle, they are false positives. So eventually, I mean, and we have, design our own machine learning models as well. You want to identify those trends that are actually leading you to true positives, and that's where the compliance officers, they should be focusing their effort on for money laundering or fraud. So what we have seen from experience is that definitely, machine learning together with a rule-based engine and together with the critical thinking of compliance officers, this is the best combination. You cannot leave out the criticality of thinking of compliance officers versus the machine learning models. So I see a hybrid model. So it's like the rule engine, the criticality of thinking of the human, and the machine learning. And we are still at the beginning. We don't have enough data to say that for sure the machine learning can take it from there on. We should continuously retrain the machine learning models in order to have quality results, but you need, from our perspective, definitely the criticality thinking of the compliance officer.
Okay, awesome. Okay, guys, so let's move on to the last one, and that comes back to everybody's favorite topic, which is of course COVID. So in terms of technology right now, how has all of this changed? How has COVID changed your dependence on technology, and obviously from a risk-reward point of view in your business models? Has anything really changed, or has it maybe just moved certain things that should have been happening, moved it to the front a little bit more? What's your thinking on this, Ian?
Oh yes, no, it's a good question. I think change for definite. I think in my view, it's been an interesting time for us all and a challenge for us all. It's for me, it's accelerated the use of technologies you just mentioned. I think things that were perhaps going to happen, if you look at, even if you look at the working from home for traders, right? For example, people in our business, the traders on the desk, if you told me that they could have absolutely worked from home for all of the time, and the risk management compliance guys would have been happy with that. Like before this happened, you'd be like, no way, that's going to take years to do, right? Yeah. And suddenly something happens and bang, it's all sorted. You look at your personal life, my daughter was doing virtual play dates, which was amazing, right? You never even thought of that. Zoom quizzes, family quizzes and things like that, that's all new, right? So things, I think it's the acceleration of these things. I think people have realised that for execution, the electronic space is a sort of safe space for execution, and for audit and compliance, even more so, because you've got all of the data, it ticks all the boxes. So I think for those type of tasks, things don't go back as a generally. But then I think for me, and I do sort of bang on about this quite a lot, people who know me, the human interaction I don't think goes away. I think people, again, I always like to look at these in real world scenarios. You look at the younger children, again, I'll go back to my daughter, but when she went back to school, the look on her face, how she was, it was much better, right? And this is the youngsters, right, who are going to come through. So we know that humans crave human interaction. So I think we can learn from things like that, accelerate the use of technology for the good of the things we do. But equally, don't forget that human interaction, which can take things to another level. And as we've been talking about throughout this piece, the sort of interaction of technology and humans is going to be the key takeaway for me.
Awesome. Alexander, on your side?
Yeah, I think collaboration has been the difficult part, where previously it's very good for traders, especially from one person taking over from another, just being able to share ideas and pass any concerns. Watch this is going on. That's been the really difficult thing to sort of cope with working from home. Yeah. And in some ways, I think for a lot of FX firms, COVID's made things easier just purely because of the volatility that's created a bit more P&L for everyone, which has made everyone relax a little bit more. I hope that for those that have previously sort of relied on on the B book or whatever and a bit more risk taking, actually to almost fix the roof, while the sun's shining, and get the technology and the data in front of every trader. That means that old school collaboration that's slightly gone away. There's almost a sort of automatic risk awareness and awareness of what one trader needs to pass on to the other and tell them about. That's almost just sort of on a screen right in front of you now.
Nice. Okay, awesome. And Katrina, on your side?
On my side, I would say that we were in a very lucky situation. We have very robust BCP, and we've been encouraged to work from home for a long time. But I think it has to come from above, and this unprecedented environment created that situation for everyone. And I guess the pandemic made everyone equal. So in terms of connecting to other humans, I think actually I had some of the most empathic conversations with clients than ever, because everyone was in the same boat. So in terms of relationship, I noticed it was actually quite beneficial, reaching out again to clients, to colleagues. I guess what the risks are, that family life gets in the way. I just got a message that my son has to be on 2 weeks quarantine because someone is ill in his ear bubble. So things like that happen and kind of affect your day-to-day and work life. But again, I agree totally with Ian and Alexander that I think we're lucky being working in FX industry where volatility for us is beneficial. And I've seen so many firms have done great volumes, have done amazing P&L this year. So it seems like many can, as we said, relax and hopefully, look more positively into the next year. But yeah, I think overall, there's a Chinese hieroglyph that says challenge is also an opportunity. So I think it can be an opportunity for encouraging more work-life balance, in a very, very competitive environment. So hopefully that will be the outcome of this.
Let's hope. Avramis, Christos, I see that we've just reached our time for the session, so I'm not going to divert this question to you guys, but I want to thank everybody that's been part of this chat. Really appreciate the time that you guys have given. I think we've shared some great insights today, and I hope the best for the rest of 2020. With that, I'll hand over back to Brad for some closing remarks.
All right, thank you all.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Arno. That was awesome. What's really cool about this, you had some really big players on your panel, and we talked about technology. And one of the things that we find great, and Ian touched on this, is that you can work from home and still maintain security. I was expecting to see lots of news this year about banks being hacked and so forth because people were working from home. And Ian, it was lovely to see somebody working in a real office. I don't know if we were envious or or not. That was an awesome conference. And again, just to go back, I'd like to thank ContentWorks and QUBE for putting this on. I really enjoyed that, and I hope all the attendees did. It was quite good. And just to quickly recap a few things that I picked up over the conference, I'd like to thank Paul from JPMorgan for pointing out that even though we're working from home through Zoom or Skype or whatever, we still need to maintain cultural idiosyncrasies, etc. It's important to keep that in mind, even though we're not meeting face to face and shaking hands. Christos, again, thanks for sponsoring the event and demystifying a lot of the issues that a lot of brokers are dealing with. Charlie, thank you very much for your marketing perspective and your direct questions. You've actually saved me a lot of time and effort. So now we know where the budget is.
I'm all about saving time and effort.
Exactly, yeah. And Natalia, thank you very much for your answer on video. You brought tears to my eyes. So that also saves me a lot of time because we're looking at various, and again, that mixture of B2B and B2C marketing was a great idea. And I thought overall the production that QUBE and Contents Work put together with the variety of moderators and panelists was perfect. It was a really good job, and thanks for asking me on. And I enjoyed it, and let's do this again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, from the QUBE side, thanks, Brad. That was great moderating. Thanks, Charlotte. Thank Nikki, Marta for bringing together the content. It's been a great event. Thank you for the engagement. It's probably the best engagement I've seen in quite some time. So thank you all for that. Please, your evaluation forms really, really important. They're being mailed to you at this moment as soon as we close this webinar. This webinar will be on replay, so you can just click on the link at any time, and will also be in your inbox. Will be on our YouTube site. And please subscribe to our LinkedIn page and to our YouTube page. And thank you so much. See you at the next Forex Breakfast, ladies, Marta, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Yes, thank you. Have a great afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.